What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn states that he will not give in on the behalf of Dillian Whyte. The WBC must guarantee Whyte his shot. Okay. Now, he goes on to say, we're getting there. Hearns told Sky Sports, we won't give in. It's been 600 days this weekend that Dillian Whyte has been number one. Wow. That's virtually unheard of, and he's boxed in that period. Derek Chisora, Robert Helenius, Lucas Brown, Joseph Parker, and Derek Chisora again. Now, let me stop right there. Okay? That is almost a flawless, probably minus Helenius, Robert Helenius, but Lucas Brown, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, but he fought Derek Chisora again. And that would have been almost perfect if that would have been Luis Ortiz, and he would have got Ortiz out of there. And that would have been, without a shadow of a doubt, zero tolerance. And this is what happens, though. When you try to go against the grain. See, everyone talked about Luis Ortiz, and we know he was mandated to fight Ortiz, and Deontay Wilder offered him to fight Ortiz, and then he promised him a shot after that. He could have went that route if that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to do it the high road way, which the high road way is really the crooked way, because that's the WBC's way. He wanted to do the noble way, or the right way, where the WBC is supposed to grant him this opportunity. However, the WBC's not doing that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that they're crooked. Everybody knows that they're doing some shady stuff on their side of the pond, And if you know they're doing that, why are you relying on them to do something right now? You know what I mean? They're not going to start all of a sudden doing anything right. In fact, they're talking about, hey, if you keep talking shit about us, we're not going to do anything at all. So I don't see why Dillian Whyte now, I know him and Eddie Hearn. Now Eddie Hearn, now is focusing more on Dillian Whyte than he did before. I feel, because AJ, he's taking a rest, he's relaxing. So now I guess he can focus more on Dillian Whyte. But the thing is, if you know anything about the art of war, you take the defenses away from a fighter or away from a army. And in Deontay's case, the only thing that he had credible is Luis Ortiz at that time. Because he could have fought Luis Ortiz, beat Luis Ortiz, right? Or at least offered him a certain amount of money or whatever. But, do whatever it took to get Ortiz in the ring, because that was the key to the Golden Goose. The Golden Goose is where he wants to be, and where he wants to be is the WBC, because he's ranked number one. 600 days. That is unheard of. I mean, that's crazy. That's damn 600 days. That's almost 2 years, man. That's 65 days of being 2 years. Almost 2 years, right? So I'm like, why haven't they given him a shot? Well, I think if you dealing with crooked people, you have to do unorthodox things, right? You can't be fair with a crooked person, in other words. So these are crooked people. We know this. So he should have fought Luis Ortiz or did something to get Luis Ortiz in the ring. But here's the thing. Not saying Dillian Whyte didn't want that. What I'm saying is his promoter didn't. Eddie Hearn didn't want a Dillian Whyte versus Luis Ortiz fight for whatever reason. His reasonings was because it won't sell like Chisora. Chisora is a bigger draw. And remember, Chisora, first negotiations, he asked for too much money. Remember that? So for about a week, they didn't know what the hell they were going to do or who they were going to fight. And they didn't go back to Luis Ortiz at that point, right? And then the same things were really done with Joshua. They went, and then they offered him a certain amount, right? And then they offered him a certain. Then they offered him the $7 million, because I think it was like $6 million at first. Then it was $7 million, right? And then the stuff came out on Twitter, pissed Eddie off, and he didn't want to do business with him again. Well, Derek Chisora asked for too much money. Well, you told him no. Then, because you wanted that fight, you were willing to renegotiate and get him in the ring, and that's what happened, and he knocked him out in the 11th round. Not saying it wasn't a good fight, not saying it wasn't a good domestic fight, but it was time for Dillian Whyte to spread his wings. You know what I'm saying? And it was that time that he could have took to make himself known with Luis Ortiz, because remember, Ortiz was already known. Yeah, he lost to Wilder in his first defeat, but what happened in that fight? You know what I mean? And what happened in the Wilder fight was more significant of what happened when Dillian Whyte fought Anthony Joshua, because he had Anthony Joshua wobbled with his left hook, right? That crashing left hook that had Joshua doing that dance, okay? Well, Ortiz did that to Wilder and almost got his ass out of there. So that would have been more influential if they would have been looking and thinking really about strategy. They could have we got to get Ortiz in there because Ortiz gave Deontay Wilder hell, so we need to get him in there. Now, Luis Ortiz is doing what? Luis Ortiz is where Dillian Whyte should be now. WBC ain't going to help you. Right? We can read the rest of this. He says, we feel that he deserves a shot, and I think the general public do as well. I believe the fight against Oscar Rivas for the WBC interim world title, it will be for the mandatory position, but we want to know when that comes. Look, they won't know when that comes, because it's as long as they're putting other fighters in front of Dillian Whyte, we will never know. This is the heavyweight division. It's no telling what's going to happen in two other fights, because he's fighting Ortiz. He gets past Ortiz. He's fighting Fury, and ain't nobody going to help them do anything about it. Bottom line. So now all you can do now is reevaluate and backtrack on where did we do wrong? How could we have made a Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder fight? Sure, we know Deontay Wilder was already freezing out Dillian Whyte, right? But he did that with an exception. The exception was beat Ortiz. Because that was the whole thing. Why do you think Joshua wanted Ortiz? I think Joshua was smarter than anyone else. I think his promoter wanted to go another route, and then he persuaded him to do so. Right? Do you remember when, this was a couple months ago, and that fight was on the table, and they offered him that, and, Eddie Hearn, is pissed, and he blasted Team Ortiz. Remember that? And then Ortiz himself came out, him and his his trainer, and was like, dude, yeah, we dropped the ball. The promotional company asked for too much money or whatnot. And, it was our fault. Well, when he found out that information, why didn't he renegotiate? See, this fight would have been a bigger fight with a bigger name, because Ortiz had a bigger name than Ruiz did. Let's be real. That's why everybody was interested in that fight, because the only person that Ortiz lost to was Deontay Wilder. It was more, let's put it this way. Joshua Ortiz was much more an anticipated fight than Brazil Wilder. Sure, it was a mandatory or not. It didn't even supposed to be a mandatory. But the dynamics of that fight, nobody really wanted to see that fight. You see what I'm saying? But people would have paid to see Ortiz or Joshua Ortiz. And see, Joshua knew that. That's why he was like, let's get Ortiz in the ring. And I don't think Eddie Hearn wanted that. He didn't really want that fight. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what that is. I think that he didn't want to go through Ortiz by any stretch of the imagination. He didn't want to do so. Now, because of that, because they didn't get him in the ring and they didn't do the negotiations like they supposed to, now Dillian Whyte is still waiting, still fighting this dangerous opponents. Now he's fighting Oscar Rivas. Look, we don't know how that fight's going to go. You know what I mean? We know Dillian Whyte has a weight advantage, a height advantage, and a weight advantage. Reach advantage. That Oscar Rivas is tough and undefeated. Right? And he's already upset one generally good fighter. And that was Brian Jennings, which was also beat by Ortiz, mind you. Now, Dillian Whyte could say that, hey, you know, I beat Oscar Rivas if he can get past him. What if he doesn't? Then he'll look back at his career and say, you know what? Now I am farther away from the WBC strap than any time in my career. So I've wasted literally 600 days waiting on something that I thought the WBC was going to help me with, and they're not. And now you have to look at other aspects. Well, damn, Eddie, you really should have negotiated with Luis Ortiz because, again, Luis Ortiz has that opportunity to fight Wilder again. You know what I mean? He's not any mandatory. He's not anything. He's just another guy that he wanted to right the wrong, just like Fury. So he's just as important as Fury is. Because Fury beat you on the scorecards to a lot of people's opinion. So he wanted to right that wrong. Just like he's doing with Ortiz. You know? But hey, if the WBC lets him get away with it, that is what it is. And the synopsis of this video is if Dillian Whyte wanted to fight Deontay Wilder, he should have fought and went through Ortiz. And a lot of people that don't even have my own views on a lot of other things believe that, and I do too. He should have fought Ortiz. Eddie Hearn shouldn't have been as arrogant in downplaying Ortiz and what he means in the heavyweight division, and he did that. No one wants to see Ortiz in England. And then they put a poll up, and everybody picked Luis Ortiz. That poll's not important. Yes, it is, obviously, because now that same motherfucker that you said that wasn't important, he ain't fought nobody since Wilder, right? But he has another title shot with Wilder. You see what I'm saying? So, no, it was a wrong strategy move all across the board. So, yeah, they can fight the WBC all they want, but the WBC can do whatever they want in return. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Eddie Hearn's statements towards Dillian Whyte. Of course, please subscribe. You guys been Counterpunch. Peace.